Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 001 Radio Gamescast. It's episode number 47. As always, I'm your host, Ryan, and I'm joined today by my lovely cohort of co-hosts, Alex. He's there. I promise he's there.
Every time!
He did say he was coming back from a migraine. He did say he was coming back from a
But
migraine.
this is every time, and I love it so much.
I
Bless your
think
heart,
you just
Alex.
didn't pick up your syllable that you said.
Okay, no, I swear I'm not muted.
Oh God, go
Oh my
leave.
God.
All right, it's already gone. Brett
Hello.
and Wyatt.
I am also here too.
All right,
As well.
great. Let's move on from that trash fire.
Best compliment I've gotten all day.
Yep.
Wow.
So, we were going to talk about some best level stuff, but that's getting pushed to next week because turns out we're all blind and didn't know there were two major events in the games industry happening this week. And by all of us, I mean just me. So,
I mean, I didn't know BlizzCon was happening until like day 2 or something, and I was like, oh yeah.
but Wyatt, it's BlizzConline. It's BlizzConline
I feel like
specifically.
I need to take a shower.
So,
after hearing that.
what we're gonna do is we're pushing our planned talk from last week to next week, and then this week we're gonna go over the news while it's still somewhat relevant.
No.
We can
Somewhat
try.
relevant. We'll see, because in reality, nothing is coming out soon. So we got some stuff that I think a few people here might like. So I felt like you were going to say something for a minute. You're already excited. So, all right. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do you want to start with? You want to start with BlizzCon or the Nintendo Direct? What are people feeling?
Let's do personally. I want to do Nintendo first because I feel like I have more to say with BlizzCon. To be honest with you,
I would agree.
that's my.
Start with the supposed shorter.
I don't have
First.
much to say for either, so.
Yeah, to be honest, like this Nintendo Direct was not bad, not good. Well, actually, I'd say it was pretty good, but it was just like pretty good. It wasn't. Nothing here really blew people away. We didn't see some suspected things from like the Zelda 35th and Metroid 25th, I think.
I think
No,
people would be
30th.
more. That's the thing. I think people would be more okay with it if it wasn't now. Like if there wasn't, if we
Yeah.
weren't expecting a ton of Zelda stuff coming out right around now. I think probably people would have enjoyed it more.
No one's expecting any Metroid things anymore.
I mean, Prime 4 is happening.
Ouch.
It's happening at some point.
How many quotes? How many quotes is that, Ryan? How many air quotes is that happening in the middle of?
That happening is in the middle of there were a few air quotes, and then the studio closed.
So they don't have the money or time to produce any air quotes anymore.
Yeah, so now it's they're developing the air quotes right now.
I see.
But there
Air
are some
quotes
fun
are
things with the
They have a
direct.
Project.
lone 2D artist that's going in and just making those quotes look
Yep.
real pretty.
Okay, so we're just gonna go in kind of order of whatever. I think Nintendo has kind of arranged things by priority on their website rundown of this, so we're gonna go in their order and see if it stands up. So we're gonna start out with an announcement of nothing, basically, which is Hades. So
The
Hades
game exists.
Hades had a trailer that was pretty long.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was like a solid almost minute, I think, of that presentation just to say it's a physical edition, which, I mean, Hades is up there for games of last year. It is one of the best games to come out.
I mean, it can't go any higher if you ask me, but
Well, according to other people, you can. So,
wow.
According to
Last
literally
year.
us.
according
Okay,
to
wow.
us,
I mean, what? Shut up.
we're getting that. So, some other announcements. We're going to talk about Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity a little bit later, I think, but we're getting DLC for Age of Calamity. If you are one of the people that has enjoyed that game, we're getting some more content for it. New characters, new movesets, some fun new missions apparently, but we don't have any details on any of that. So It's
Because there
something.
just isn't enough content in the game already.
Because if anything, Muso games are known for being exceedingly short.
Exactly.
If you can't tell, that's extreme sarcasm. They are incredibly long. So, yeah, that's happening. Animal Crossing's getting some Super Mario themed items. There actually is one thing of note here. You can get warp pipes for your island that allow you to teleport around it. You can only have one set, so you can have one set of warp pipes that allow you to like teleport around your island to do a different spot, essentially. That's just a super nice like quality of life thing for Animal Crossing, because it means you can have a river that looks really nice and you don't need to have a bridge like always in the middle of it. That's in a convenient place to walk across. You can just teleport. So it's a neat little quality of life thing. We got a weird announcement. So Miitopia, the 3DS game, is coming to Switch.
Everyone's favorite.
What?
I've heard this
Well,
game's
you-
actually
Wait,
really
is this
good.
the one where there are all
So,
those
yeah.
memes of the Miis singing?
That's Tomodachi Life.
Okay.
Miitopia is similar, very similar, and there are tons of memes of it, but not singing. Everything else that Miis can do is memed in it. But yeah, that's happening.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, apparently it's really good for what it is. I haven't played it, so I can't comment. But I've heard strangely good things for something called Miitopia. So,
I mean, Tomodachi Life was pretty great, all things considered. So I'm not that surprised that they're pulling out another good little thing. Although I do want to see the price tag on this. It might have already been announced, but I don't want to click on the link because it's going to start auto-playing music. So some other stuff to talk about. We got a look at World's End Club, which is a game by the Zero Escape franchise creators.
Ooh.
So this is a game that was actually announced like 2 years ago, I think. We have a release date now. It's coming up pretty soon. And it's about a group of kids that were supposedly put in like a weird death game, as you do in Japanese detective games.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Surprisingly often.
Yep, surprisingly often. Except this time the twist is the weird death game immediately stops and they go up and it's the apocalypse. So that's the gist of it. It looks like a weird platformer. It looked not that smooth, but I don't know if that's like just trailer footage that they cut that isn't great. But I'm a little skeptical of if the team behind this is going to be able to pull off a platformer, especially considering it probably also has that huge emphasis on story.
When you say when you say things like the 0 Hour Escape or the No Nary games, I do not picture a platformer, so I'd be
Exactly.
interested to see how it's pulled off.
I'm interested in this, but from the sidelines. This is definitely not a game I would at least personally pick up immediately, just because I think I'm a little skeptical of if it's going to be that fun. I'm sure the story will be great because that team has not really put out anything bad. But whether or not it's enjoyable is yet to be seen. So we did get a big announcement. Soon after that, we got a Star Wars Hunters.
whatever that is.
What?
Well, we know it is a squad-based multiplayer game,
Oh.
but we know
What?
literally nothing else.
Yeah,
Literally
it-
nothing else about
It
this game.
left the teaser left a lot to the imagination. I think that's putting it
For a
lightly.
game that is coming out
Yeah.
Who
this
is it
year.
being developed by? Do
A
we know
mobile
that?
game company, isn't
Yeah,
it? So it's probably
think
going to be
so.
like microtransaction heaven.
Would you look at that? My enthusiasm is now
now-
about as high as the Marianas Trench.
Now, to be fair,
It's
you know-
Zynga and Lucasfilm Games. So
Oh, okay. I was about to give them credit because Criterion made oh man, my memory. What's the Star Wars flying game that came out recently, you guys?
Squadron.
Squadron?
Thank you. That was made by Criterion, who's known for making that Star Wars like clicker.
I mean,
game on
Criterion
iPhone.
is also a company known for making extremely good racing games.
I know. I'm just saying, like, mobile developer isn't immediately.
I mean,
a bad
Criterion
sign.
is not a company you would call a mobile developer though, because they make lots of home console games. They're not primarily a mobile developer.
Didn't Criterion also do the Starfighter combat for Battlefront 2
I
as
believe,
well?
yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, they have that on their resume as well.
I'm just saying.
I mean, it's a false
let's not,
equivalency. Zynga is not a home console developer in any capacity. There could be other teams involved in this, but we really don't have a lot of information. We just know it's Zynga and Lucasfilm Games. It could be that Zynga is part of the publishing agreement for this, because Zynga is kind of a juggernaut in mobile games, and we do know. Oh, here's the rub. So Star Wars Hunters will also be on the App Store and Google Play.
There we go.
There's the rub. So it is.
There we go.
Honestly?
Mobile game.
I retract my.
Where's my
previous
Indiana Jones game? I want that instead.
I mean, hey, if it's free, I'll try it, but I don't have high
Yeah.
hopes for something published by. Or not
Where's
published,
my archaeologist
Zynga.
RPG?
I mean, that exists. There's like Heaven's Vault, I think. An archaeologist RPG.
Huh.
It's a really
Just
good
gonna
one
leave
too.
right now to try it.
Yeah.
Yep. Goodbye.
Okay. So another announcement I think a few of us have some weird feelings about is Knockout City.
Has anyone else played this?
I've never
I did
heard
not
of it.
know the beta was happening until now. Like right before this episode.
I do not
I got
remember this
to.
at all.
It's the trailer that started with like 45 seconds of interesting, like purposefully clashy art styles of like
Oh!
this character is from
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Not WoW.
that was so weird.
This character is from not Fortnite. This
Because
character
we thought it was
pixelated
CS:GO.
from
princess.
Fortnite, because the
CS:GO.
background was like the purple
Yes.
Fortnite background.
It looked like something, and then they showed the actual game, and the actual game looks kind of like the Grubhub commercials, and that's not a compliment. That's kind of
Oh,
really
no.
bad. But I played the game for a little bit, for like an hour and a half or something, and it's actually pretty fun. I just wish the game looked any synonym of good, and also that like the trailer did a good job, because the trailer sucks.
Yeah, that trailer was bad.
It's
A lot of us,
horrible.
a few of us here actually know people at Velen, who is the studio making this, and they're a great studio. So I have a lot of faith that the game will at least be good.
Yeah,
for what
definitely.
it is. But that trailer was some dodgy decision making was going on there.
It was a
'cause, I mean,
different
Ryan-
company that made the trailer compared to Velen, who was making the game. It was a completely different team of people.
I mean, that's
Ryan and I
usually
were
the
watching
case.
the show with a couple of other friends, and everyone was like, "What's happening?" Like we had no idea what we were watching.
I like for a
for
second I
most of
thought
that
I was just
trailer.
like having a fever dream in the middle of the Nintendo
yeah,
Direct.
yeah.
And Ryan, I know that usually that's the case, but like I like from people who have talked to them after the trailer was shown off, not even Velen knew about
Like it was
the
just
trailer.
outsourced
Like
to someone.
they
completely.
were just as surprised as everybody else.
Yeah, man.
So I really hope they do a better job next time.
It's a shame
deserve
because
better.
that trailer did an awful job of selling the game, and 45
Yeah.
seconds of just like weird characters that have nothing to do with the game talking.
Yeah.
I said that we were watching. It felt like those Raid Shadow Legend ads where they just have characters
Yeah.
in their own game just talking about whatever.
Mhm.
That's what it felt like.
I would
very
assume
odd.
that studio probably does a lot of mobile commercials because
That would
that's
make
what it
sense,
felt
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
All right. So Knockout City, Brett. Any impressions from what you've played?
It's like maybe like a 7 out of 10 for me. They have like polish is needed, but it's pretty unique and fun. And I was like, oh, I wouldn't pay like $40 for this. But according to the devs, they're like trying to they're trying to do the Fall Guys approach, where
Mhm.
I think it's like $20, but then they're gonna try to keep it on sale as much as possible. Which I would get it for that cheap. But yeah, they got to do some aesthetic work, because man,
Yeah.
it's probably the trailer that ruined it for most people.
I mean, at least
Including me.
if it wasn't for that 45 seconds at the start of the trailer, I wouldn't have come out with an immediately bad first impression. I think
Yeah.
that's the big case with this. All right, so moving on, we got a Ninja Gaiden collection announced. There's actually a little bit of controversy about this collection because I don't know if any of you guys have played Ninja Gaiden games.
No.
No.
So Ninja Gaiden is commonly kind of referred to as kind of an equivalency to like Platinum and Devil May Cry games, but way harder and with a lot more focus on like basically like one-hit kill type stuff. A lot more
So like
difficult.
the Dark Souls. Of
No, because it's still like a
platformers?
super fast-paced hack
No,
and
don't
slash.
get out of here.
The Dark Souls of
Quiet.
platformers because it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Well, there actually is a Dark Souls comparison to be had here because Ninja Gaiden, I think 2 and 3, it was either 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. I know 2 is involved in this. There were a couple versions of Ninja Gaiden games. There's the regular versions, and then there's the Sigma versions. The Sigma versions were like not remakes, but like upgrades to the next console generation kind of deal. Essentially like how a Monster Hunter game will have like
Were they free
the
upgrades
G
though, or
rank.
did you have to pay for them separately?
Well, they're new games. They came out like a while after.
I know that was a
first ones.
next gen upgrade joke, and I'm just gonna stop talking now.
Well, that it did not come off like a
I
At
know.
all.
I know.
because yeah, that's a
Alright,
legit
let's just
question
move on.
though.
Let's just move on.
That's a legit question though for these. Like, I could be totally wrong. Maybe they were a free upgrade at some point, but I think these games are early enough that like patches still weren't that common.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are coming, but it includes the Sigma versions. And the big controversy around the Sigma versions is that they kind of overtuned things in the opposite direction. So there was a level that was notoriously pretty difficult in 2, I believe, and the Sigma version of that level just doesn't have enemies in most of it. Like they just scaled it way too far back.
So are you just walking around for the most part? Like
No,
not really
well,
using-
no, like it's still a game. It's still a pretty good action game, but it's just not the definitive version of these games. Essentially, like it is the version that had a few missteps when they were redoing them.
Mhm.
So it's kind of sad that that's the versions we're getting. I mean, the Sigma versions have also got some benefits, like they look better. They've got some more modern tech in them, but it is a bit sad that you're not getting that like Ninja Gaiden experience with at least Ninja Gaiden 2. I don't think 3 is affected by this. I think it's 1 and 2 that have that change.
I wonder because it's slightly different tech. It may have come down to the fact that they were easier to port.
Yeah, that would be my bet.
Versions.
Is that it's newer stuff, it's easier to port.
Which is somewhat understandable, to be fair.
I mean, I don't have a huge problem with this. From my understanding, from what I've heard, from the few people I know who have played Ninja Gaiden in like the different versions, it's not really a change you'll kind of notice if you haven't played the game before. But it's the kind of thing where like if you've played both versions of the game, you'll likely prefer the original and not the Sigma version. Which is where the Dark Souls thing came in, because Dark Souls 2 had Scholar of the First Sin, which is the same situation, where different people will prefer different versions. So, yeah, that happened. All right. There was a game announced there that I think all of us were pretty iffy on, called DC Superhero Girls.
What?
I forgot. I forgot about that.
So I don't want to be too mean.
I do.
I want to
but-
before you say this, Wyatt, I do want to point out this game is not aimed at us. It is aimed at young girls and boys.
That's what I was gonna say, but I think I don't even know where to start. I think all of us just had this horrible like first impression, this horrible like taste in our mouth that just did not go away for the entire trailer. I don't think we were paying attention. We were just talking about how bad it looked.
Like
Eyes,
this art
the
style
eyes.
is aggressively awful to me.
It's
Yeah.
it's deviant art.
Oh.
It's just deviant art.
I mean, I get it because
no.
it does kind of look like the Teen Titans Go cartoon and stuff like that.
Which
which-
you know, if there's anything that people loved about Teen Titans Go, it was the art style.
Yeah, the art style.
Definitely.
So yeah, it kind of looks like a few children's cartoons that I've seen, but at the same time, it also looks like that one episode of Community where Abed imagines Community babies, and
Oh,
I
no.
lost my mind as soon as I thought about that.
No.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So they sound the same too. The voices are super high pitched. They don't sound like human people. It was rough. I'm sure there will be people that enjoy this game, and I went back and rewatched the trailer. The gameplay actually looks kind of decent.
I don't even know what kind of game
It's an
I
action
just
game.
don't even remember.
Yeah, it's just like I would compare it to like Lego games. It's a lighthearted action game. So I'm
Okay.
sure young children will likely enjoy this. But really not not in any of our wheelhouses.
That's a safe assumption.
Yeah. The Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville games are coming to Switch.
Surprisingly, really, really fun, like multiplayer shooters.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest. I thought the first one was like, wow, this is surprisingly like decent. And then I played the second one, which was I thought like legitimately great. And it was a huge improvement. It's just one of those like series that completely takes you by surprise. And I think they're really good. So,
All right.
good for them.
Yeah, you can check out impressions of those games anywhere if you want to, because they've been out for a while. Good impressions generally. So we have you guys want to do some have some fun and exterminate demons in heaven.
I thought demons, they're not supposed to be there.
I guess that's why we're
in heaven?
exterminating them.
We've been lied to.
Look, the game we're talking about is Neon White. It's a indie game being published by Annapurna that is
Good sign.
a card-based first-person like platform shooter. Looks
Ooh.
fun.
It's insanity.
Looks fun.
Card-based
Yeah.
first-person platform.
I really don't have an
shooter.
idea of what the game actually plays like yet because
I don't think they do either.
well, they clearly
No,
do. It looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Mirror's Edge, but with like
Yeah.
card RPG combat. It's crazy.
Huh.
It's just like it's the kind of thing I think this is the kind of game that's really hard to get a hold of and understand until you play it. Is the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah.
I'm also saying like the Switch is the last platform I want to play this game on because man, I want a
Yeah.
mouse if I have to aim with that kind of thing.
that does make
Ooh.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the Switch is going to have some struggles
And
with this.
especially if you're using Joy-Cons, which the thumbsticks are just not built for shooters.
Especially because indie games
all.
tend to have pretty rough auto aim, if any. And this looks like a
Yeah.
game that would need it. So
Yeah.
we'll see when it comes out. Maybe it is like being very designed for Switch, but it looks cool. The biggest problem I have with it is that this direct announcer man did like exterminate demons in heaven. When they showed it, I was like, is that supposed to?
Oh.
Yeah.
It was like they thought that was an important line.
They thought they were
I
being
didn't get
so
it.
clever.
I didn't get it. I guess
Get
it's
it?
because I
'Cause they're
played
supposed to
Bayonetta
be
and
in
you
the other
exterminate
place.
demons in heaven in Bayonetta, so I kind of already.
Well, it's not like Bayonetta, is a property that a lot of Nintendo fans. But
Oh yeah, it's
Oh.
also not like in any game that involves heaven and hell, you're gonna kill some demons in heaven generally. So really not unique to Bayonetta. It's just the Nintendo comparison I have. All right, moving on. We saw some Travis touchdown. That's about it. We can move on again
Okay.
unless people
It
want to
looks
talk about.
bonkers. What were you expecting?
It does look really fun. The frame rate was a
Yeah.
little iffy though. I'm still kind of concerned about the frame rate. But yeah, judging by the last two No More Heroes games, that game's gonna be bonkers fun. And they showed some really, really cool like art direction with how the menus looked. Just very bonkers and very No More Heroes. So I'm excited to see what that game is like. All right. The HD remaster of Legend of Mana is coming to Switch.
Finally, people can play the game.
Yeah, I'm excited because I want to play Legend of Mana, and
Because
this is like the only place to do it.
literally the only place. Because for context, that wasn't even like playable in the West, right? It
You
didn't have a
could
Western
like,
release.
I think there's a fan translation somewhere.
Well, yeah, but like legit. Of course, it's an old enough game in a series that yes, there's
Yeah.
going to be a fan translation, but
It also looks
the
really
first
good. Like
legit
that
way,
pixel
it
art
does.
is beautiful. Those environments especially were just very, very nice. Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm sure Brett is also excited for this, being the JRPG nerd.
New, but yes.
What are you talking
I
about?
would-
I'm obviously the JRPG nerd.
Of course.
Look,
in
we
this,
all know the real
cohort
JRPG
here.
nerd is Alex. So
That
Of
came
course.
out of nowhere.
Of
These
course,
are
yeah.
unfounded accusations.
all right, so some news why it's gonna hate Fall Guys is coming to Switch.
Ah,
I hate it too.
Figured.
Hey, I
Screw
mean, the
that
Switch is
game.
the perfect platform for Fall Guys.
is.
No.
Right.
No platform is perfect for that game because it sucks and no one should play it.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway,
Wyatt just has a personal
Alright.
vendetta against the game. It's fun
I'm
if
not
you're
going
into
that far.
that kind of thing.
I want to make it perfectly clear. It is purely for personal reasons why I don't like that game. It is a perfectly fine game for what it is. With that out of the way, I hate it and it's dumb.
All right, great. Yeah, the only concern I have with the Fall Guys port is that when I played Fall Guys on the like free PS Plus version, the performance was a little iffy. Yeah, it's better now, but for that first like couple days, it was a little iffy. So I'm concerned about the performance on Switch. I don't know if it was maybe a network thing and not a performance thing, because like the game had tons of players from being PS Plus on release. So yeah, we'll see. Outer Wilds also coming to Switch.
Yes.
Another really, really good game.
Such a good game.
Yeah, this is also like a very cozy game for Switch. I think like the 20-minute loops will work really, really well for
Definitely.
the Switch platform. So if you haven't played that game, don't read about it, don't do anything, just go play it. It's really
It's
good.
definitely one of those games. Just go in knowing as little as possible and just keep an open mind. Definitely.
All right, we got an announcement of the Famicom Detective Club games are coming to Switch, and I think we were all a little confused about what these games were. We know they're like Detective Club games, but at the same time, they announced them as if they were a classic franchise, and then didn't like say they were remakes or anything. So they are remakes of a game. They were published on the Famicom. These were legitimate Famicom games, which is wild to think about that they're now getting like these HD remakes. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to like these weird Japanese detective games a lot, so I might pick them up at some point, but I'm sure if you're someone who grew up with these games, this would be a more attractive collection. I don't know if anyone else is interested in them at all, but
I'd never heard of
Weirdo.
it before. Doesn't seem like my thing, but yeah, not much to say. It was what I'm saying.
yeah, it looks interesting. See what the reception is. And then, of course, the highlight of the day, the absolute highlight of this entire presentation, we're getting Samurai Warriors 5, baby. And let me say, I'm excited for this for reasons that are, I think, pretty good. So Dynasty Warriors 9, for those of you who don't know, was an open world game that completely flopped because it was bad. It was not well designed. It was a horrible. They decided to like try and remake the Dynasty Warriors vision into this open world thing. But what people want out of Dynasty Warriors is to run a mission and go kill like 3,000 people in the span of 10 minutes. They don't want to spend
Doesn't
time.
really
at a
mesh
time.
with open world design.
Yeah,
for the most
gathering
part?
ingredients and crafting in an open world, and then it's just not a Dynasty Warriors thing. Yeah, I'm also excited because Koei Tecmo has been putting out some phenomenal games recently. Again, Wyatt and I have been playing Age of Calamity, and that game is just a lot of fun.
Haven't
all
been able to
around.
stop.
It is like very well designed for a Koei Tecmo game.
I have a problem.
Or a Warriors game in general. Persona 5 Strikers also just came out, and that game is also phenomenal. Legitimately really, really good. So they're on a hot streak right now, and I think they're going to treat one of their two main franchises, being like Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors, with a lot of care after 9 kind of blew up the franchise. So I'm excited to see what this ends up being like and what it plays like once it comes out. They're also doing a pretty unique art style. Got like they're going that not quite cell shaded, but very toonish shading on semi-realistic models. Kind of like a painterly look going on, so I'm excited for that. There's some neat looking special moves in there. We might finally convert Wyatt to a Warriors game player.
I mean, the process has already started.
Yep.
I liked Hyrule Warriors just fine, and Age of Calamity is vying to take over my entire life, and so far it's doing a fantastic job.
I am just hoping they take the lessons they've learned from Age of Calamity and Persona Strikers to the next mainline, like Koei Tecmo owned property, and do some of those innovations, because like, man, I want to see like something mimicking the Sheikah Slate or the skills in Persona 5 or Persona Strikers.
Or even just how they've designed like using the open world map and then
Yeah.
kind of unlocking new warrior skills and stuff like that. I love the way that was themed around like you know what? I'm gonna save that for later because I'm
It's just really, really good. They've been on a hot streak, so I want to see that. Now, I gotta ask everyone, are you ready to rise to the challenge? Because Monster Hunter Rise is coming to Nintendo Switch. Okay, I've talked about Monster Hunter a few times on this podcast before, so I don't want to go at it again at length until like the game comes out. It still looks really good. It's still really fun. There's probably going to be another demo next month. Check it out. That's about all I can say.
I'm gonna answer your question. I will not rise to the challenge because I'm not a fan of that series, but have fun.
But
so the answer is no. You should still do it because I'm sure everyone else other than me will like it. Because that's just how this
as is
stuff
the
goes.
case often.
Yep.
With Wyatt.
Yep.
Everyone but him will be enjoying the Rise party.
Yes.
But yeah, so from the perspective of like someone who plays a lot of Monster Hunter games, I would say that the big advantage this game has is the fact that it is much faster than your usual Monster Hunter game. It still has all the weight of old Monster Hunters, but the wire bugs and the new mechanics really give you a lot of mobility and make the fights feel a lot faster, which is going to mesh pretty well with it being back on a portable console, so that the missions are fast and furious. Excited to see what that comes out like. But speaking of rising to a challenge, there's a new challenger approaching.
Oh my, the segues.
And no one was happy about it. Just like every other time. Well, you see, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter who it is,
because everyone on Twitter is going to be upset about it no matter what.
Dude,
it could be Goku, and people would still be mad.
If Goku came there, the people would be mad it wasn't like Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And
exactly, yeah.
All right. Yeah, so Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade 2 are coming to Smash Ultimate. Looks exciting. They got some cool moves they can do. It's like two characters in one. They're kind of going to that like chic Zelda design from like Brawl and Melee, where they were separate characters, or not separate characters, but one character that you like did a special to change between. It kind of seems like what they're doing here. We won't know until they do a deep dive. They look pretty fun. At the same time, there are more anime sword characters, so people are a little bit miffed about more anime sword characters.
It's almost like the dev is a Japanese dev. That would be crazy though.
Yeah.
Okay, but is that like an excuse?
We're not saying it is an excuse.
It's not something it has to be an excuse for. That's like saying, "Oh my God, Street Fighter has too many characters that use their hands and feet."
I mean, no. It didn't. Saying that didn't come off the way I wanted it to. It's a lot of characters that look visually similar,
but they don't though.
I mean, I think the issue is that there are a lot of characters they could pull from that are possibly have more unique styles that Nintendo would have access to, because I think it's like 3 out of the already revealed past characters are sword characters. So there's just a lot of swords going around. I don't really care. I like the Fire Emblem characters.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I don't care either. I think I'm just trying to like empathize with people that are a little upset about it, I guess.
Well, I don't have any empathy, so
yeah, I would say those people generally are probably just upset it wasn't a character they wanted. I think they're using the anime sword as like an excuse to get upset.
It wasn't Gino. Oh, not again. Oh, it wasn't Gino. Oh.
Well, because I'm coming from the perspective of like almost every new character that's been announced, I like just have no feeling one way or another towards their franchise, or I just never heard of them before. So it's like I don't care either way who it is, unless it's like, you know, Master Chief or something, which is never going to happen. But oh boy, if it did,
I would play the game at all.
Yeah. I mean, at least these are characters that are from like a mainline Nintendo franchise with Xenoblade. Like, Xenoblade is a pretty big Switch franchise.
People love those games.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I'll
it
play
makes
them
sense. I'm not
eventually.
saying it doesn't make sense. It makes complete sense with that series specifically. I don't know. I'm just gonna be quiet now. I think my point has been made somewhat.
We're just saying you don't need to get upset at everything, Wyatt. You don't need to be upset about sword
What are
characters
you, a
in Smash.
Smash player?
This is another anime character I've never heard of. It's a bad franchise. It's overrated. Screw it all. Nintendo sucks. I'm out.
You know what else
Bye-bye.
is a bad anime franchise? Zelda.
Oh,
And
Uh,
that
Wouldn't it be
day
awesome
forward,
if
we
we
never
got-
gained
Yeah,
any-
before we segue to
excuse me,
Zelda.
princess.
And from that day forward, 001 was never heard of again.
So before we segue to Zelda, which we will segue to in just a moment, I do want to mention, I want to get ahead of there's going to be some censorship controversy over the Pyra and Mithra in Smash. I just want to put my 2 cents in there. They look way better with actual clothing on. So
Wait.
So
There's already a lot of
back it up for a second.
controversy about.
I'm sorry. Wait, no. Hold on. People are getting mad that you're not seeing as much skin on the.
I mean, why
characters
people
that are
got
with
mad
them.
that you almost got mad that they were changing a camera angle in Mass Effect. So
Okay, I think
remember, we've
I
certainly
got mad
had
because
plenty of
I thought the
controversy.
censorship was going to go way further than that. And when I realized it was just that, it's like not a big deal.
We
in my defense.
just remember we've still had plenty of controversy about the people who play Smash.
Yeah.
Mm.
So for
So
an
honestly,
outline of
just
what's
looking at their.
You know what? Censor away, Nintendo.
Go ahead, Brett.
I was just gonna say, like, at least for me, who I maybe I don't pay enough attention to those characters as some other people do for some reason, but I didn't notice a difference.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah, so the well, have you guys played the games?
No.
Not
but
yet,
I've
but
seen
that would
those
probably be
characters
why.
On my list.
before.
So
If I ever get a Switch.
the reason it's noticeable is because Xenoblade 2 is super weird compared to Xenoblade 1, in that it has a lot more weird out of place fan service that like kind of kills the mood in some scenes and is just weird. Like there'll be scenes where things are just like focusing on a character's chest and it'll be like, what? Like she's saying something important right now, but the camera is literally just going right at the chest.
That sounds important.
Yep. And of course their outfits have like tons of skin everywhere. They don't look like outfits. The Smash stuff, all it does, it closes the chest window on Mithra. And it adds
How dare they ruin
undergarments.
the artistic
It
vision
adds
of the
tights.
original masterpiece?
I don't know. My personal preference is that these outfits look way more interesting. They're more visually distinct. They have more design going on because like their outfits in Xenoblade 2 were just kind of boring. It's just weird pointy bits everywhere. So I don't know. I think these are just better
Yeah, but
in general.
Ryan, they're tarnishing the visual masterpiece of the source material. How could
Look,
you be
what I
okay with
legitimately
such
want,
a
I want
change?
Xenoblade 2 to take these outfits and put them in Xenoblade 2 because they're better.
But Ryan, this is heresy. This is heresy speak.
All right, we're moving on from the weeb trash.
It's a
Please.
Nintendo presentation. It's nothing but that. let's
Back
be
to
real.
more weeb trash. We're taking to the skies in Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. So we did get a Zelda announcement. They didn't specifically really go at it from the like 35th anniversary point of view for Zelda, which is odd considering that like the 35th anniversary of Zelda is basically right now. It is, I think, this week. So a little odd that they're not really acknowledging that.
I think they're
Skyward Sword
saving their
HD for
I think
the
they're saving their big Zelda stuff
for
for
the
like
Switch.
a dedicated presentation, most likely. is
To,
what it
to be
seems like.
honest, my bet would be that COVID probably put a wrench in their plans.
Well, there's that as well.
So I am iffy on if we'll see a Zelda presentation. I think it could be that Skyward Sword is what we get, and I'm not that upset if that's what the only thing we get, because like I want to play that game. I wasn't able to before.
I think
So
for this year, I want one of two things. I'm not asking for both. I'm asking for one. Some sort of Zelda collection in the vein of like Mario All-Star Collection or Breath of the Wild 2. I think one of those, and I would be fine in terms of like this year, right?
I also kind of agree. You do need one of
Yeah.
those, otherwise, like Because Mario's the big man or whatever, and like he's fine and good, but like for a lot of people, Zelda's just way.
I mean, Zelda
closer
sold the
to their
Switch.
hearts.
Like Breath of the
It's-
Wild is the
yeah,
game that sold
literally.
the
The
Switch.
Switch would not be what it is if that game had not come out.
And,
Yeah.
Literally.
and barring Metroid, Zelda is the big property now that has a lot of pretty important titles that are not, playable.
Able to be
on
played on
current-
modern
yeah.
consoles. Yeah.
And as someone who's like relatively new to Zelda as a franchise, I'm almost more excited for some sort of collection than like Breath of the Wild 2, if I'm being honest, because I don't
Yeah.
have the hardware to play most
Yeah.
Zelda games, and I would just be almost more excited for some kind of collection where I could
Because
really
like
get
the
into
real
franchise.
shame is that the best versions of a couple of the Zelda games, Majora's and Ocarina, are locked to 3DS. So you have to make the choice between like playing on a television screen with a Nintendo 64 or emulation, or playing on your tiny 3DS screen with the upgrades. So
or for buying a Wii U if you want to do like Wind Waker HD or something like that.
and I mean Wii U at least is a console that's not terribly expensive to acquire. They didn't
No.
I
sell too
wonder
well.
why.
So
No, but outside of playing Wind Waker HD, I have 110% no interest.
yeah,
in
but at
getting
least
a
what I'm
Wii
saying
U.
is at least Wind Waker HD has the option to be played on a screen, right? Whereas like the
Yeah.
3DS games, you
Mm.
can't do that. Even emulation for them is spotty. So I would really want to see some, like, I would love a collection that's just like the classic versions of like do a remix of the old school when the Zelda promotional disc came out with Ocarina of Time and Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Just do like Oracle of Ages and Seasons it's like the Mario All Stars collection, Zelda All Stars, Oracle of Ages and Seasons, Ocarina and Majora's. You got your masterpiece collection right there.
Well, you could also, if you wanted to, like split it up by like 2D and 3D or something like that. You know?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think
Do
they would do
something
that
funky.
because I get the sense because Twilight Princess and Wind Waker just got updated for the Wii U, they would sell those as full price or at least like $40 releases on their own. But yeah, we spent a lot of time on Zelda, so I want to get us moving on until at least more Zelda games are out that we can talk about, and talk about some new stuff we saw. So we saw a wonderfully named project from Square Enix called Project Triangle Strategy.
It just rolls right
Oh.
off the tongue.
I love this. I just love that that's the name they went with.
It's so just who.
I'm shocked this
who?
wasn't made by Goop! Exclamation.
I mean,
point.
it's
Goop will
made
never
by
die.
it is
I'll
the
make-
second
I will
game.
personally make sure Goop never dies.
You mean Goo? You mean Goo
Oh
or
no!
You failed.
Gwyneth
you
Paltrow's
failed.
Goop? Because Goo is the game company. Goop is
Exclamation
Gwyneth
point.
Paltrow.
God no! I mean Goo.
Yep. All right.
Careless for Goop.
I wasn't
Goo will
gonna
never
say
die.
anything.
Yeah, so Project Triangle Strategy, second HD 2D game from Square Enix. Octopath Traveler was the last one. And, you know, what makes me nervous here is that Octopath Traveler became the name of Octopath Traveler. At least that, like, kind of sounds like a proper name. Triangle Strategy, though, I don't see myself buying a game called Triangle Strategy.
Well, you said that's the code name for it, right? Or is that the actual
It's
game
the
name?
project name, but for Octopath Traveler, it was called Project Octopath Traveler before it just became Octopath Traveler and then released.
Oh.
So this might just become Triangle Strategy. I just want to see what like Googling that would look like. Like, if you want to find the game, you have to Google Triangle Strategy, and you come up with like a bunch of geometry results. It'd be great. Yeah, so it's a tactics RPG, not a JRPG in the traditional style. It looks pretty cool from what they showed. It, of course, looks great because it's the HD 2D engine. Aside from the weird bloom filter, like Wyatt and I both had a problem with that. So
Yeah,
it just like
it's
dulls the colors a lot and washes it
Yeah,
out.
it just has a like because of that. It just feels like it has a really gross like color palette that I'm not a huge fan of, and I'm sure the color palette itself isn't the problem. It's just what that filter makes it look like. It's just not.
Yeah, it looks like over excessive bloom is just washing the colors to
It
a
just
weird
looks.
gray.
It looks like a really bad Instagram filter.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
like tuned up to 100% on the little bar. Like it's just not flattering.
I mean, aside from that, the game looks great. It's taking kind of after Three Houses, in that it's based on like 3 warring factions that you have to kind of manage and do some politics between. The big central conceit of this is the conviction system, where you have the scales of justice that you weigh and vote on, and you have to like convince people to join your side to like vote on outcomes.
That's the corniest name for anything I've ever heard. And
I love it though. Like,
what do you mean? That's
I love
metal
it
as
so
hell.
much.
I'm so down for that. I'm easy
I don't
to
know.
please.
Sounds
Though.
goofy, but I'm here for it. That sounds great.
I like video games that accept that they're goofy, and Triangle Strategy is definitely doing that. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I like tactics games in general, and this looks to be a solid tactics game that looks really good, and has some interesting twists. So I want to see it. I want to play it. But you know what else I want to play? I want to play some golf. And with Mario Golf coming back, we have the option to play Mario Golf Super Rush in the future.
You can also run.
Yeah, you can
Mario
run.
Golf.
You can play speed golf.
Why walk when you can run in Mario Golf?
Like, speed golf is actually pretty fun. I've played it in a 100-foot robot golf before.
Oh, yes, the classic.
The classic 100-foot robot golf with speed mode, where you essentially, instead of counting strokes, it's just whoever gets into the hole the fastest by running around and hitting the ball. Stroke count doesn't matter.
Just like they taught you in health class.
Exactly. You know, seems like a good party game. It also has a story mode where you play as a me.
You know.
Not a character of any consequence.
Yeah.
They can die and no one would feel anything.
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Yeah, that's the big thing to me. I don't know. I would be okay with the playing as a me if this was the 3DS, where Miis were like in the system and used for a lot of stuff. Like, the Switch doesn't have Miis in most things.
We are past that point.
Yeah, it feels like it is not as interesting as it could be.
We have evolved past Miis.
They'll just never be as cool as Xbox avatars, okay?
Oh god, at least they're
Let's
not
just
bad.
accept it.
This looks so bad.
Yep. All right. So we'll talk more about Mario Golf whenever it's closer to release, because we don't have a ton of details yet. It looks very good if you're into Mario Golf games, Mario Sports, which a lot of people are. So this looks like a return to form if Strikers or Tennis Aces is anything to go by. So yeah, I'd be excited if you are into Mario Sports. Moving on to our last Nintendo announcement, we got Splatoon 3.
Oh,
wild!
The weirdest way to reveal a Splatoon game.
It looked open world. It looked open world.
Yeah. The whole beginning section in the desert had nothing to do with anything. It was
actually,
very
Wyatt,
odd.
Actually, it does. So that sequence was masterful, but no one realized it because none of us are like master Splatoon players or Splatoon fans. They're
gonna dry up in the desert.
So for people that play Splatoon 2 a lot, they likely know the final new Splatfest the game had was the Splatfest Order versus Chaos. Chaos won, and the developers said the winner of that Splatfest would influence the plot of the next game.
I see.
That's what that was showing.
I see.
We're now playing a Splatoon where Chaos has won, because in the lore of Splatoon, which there is Splatoon lore, the winner of the Splatfest is legally written in as being better than the loser.
And Entropy has won.
Entropy has won again.
The second law of thermodynamics has won.
So yeah, Splatoon 3 is going full tilt on the Chaos route. It is looking to be an incremental expansion of 2, essentially, like 2 was to 1. It's taking a Splatoon formula and just refining it and adding more things. It'll likely probably have a single-player campaign, because Splatoon 2 has a startlingly good single-player campaign. Like startlingly good.
Has no right being as good as it is, but
I mean, it's
darn it,
Nintendo.
it's
It has every right to be
really
as good
good.
as it
And a
is.
really lore-heavy DLC as well.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because it's Monolith Soft.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be, but it is for some reason.
So I don't know. I'm excited for this. Not coming till 2022, so still a ways off. I think, as shown, like this game couldn't have started writing development at least until after the final Splatfest of Splatoon 2, which was I think 2 years ago at the most. So yeah, it is shaping up to be really cool. There's a bow and arrow now. That's pretty much all the updates.
You can pick your spawn from what it looked like.
You get like a little buddy who follows you
Dude.
around and has beady eyes.
You do get a little man.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this. We'll see what it's like when it comes out because it's still quite a ways off.
I can't wait to play the game and suck at it and then realize I'm yelling at 5-year-olds the whole day.
Aw.
Look, you're probably yelling at other like 20-somethings playing Splatoon and getting mad.
Who also think they're yelling at 5-year-olds, even though they're yelling at each other.
It's actually why he just gets matched with 3 clones of himself.
God, that's the worst. That's the darkest. That's the most evil timeline right there.
All right.
Bad end.
So
Well, get ready, because it's chaos.
it's time
They won.
to accept chaos and move on to BlizzConline.
I mean, it's a post 2020 world. We've all accepted chaos. at
Yeah,
this point.
chaos is just daily routine. So chaos is order now. What's the difference? All right.
The new normal.
All right, Joker.
So again, we're gonna kind of go in like reverse order of the interest in these things that they've talked about, because I think we'll have a lot to talk about a few things, but not as much for others, because I don't think any of us play WoW.
Nope.
No.
Yeah,
Wow.
I have in the past, and you know, Shadowlands really not bringing me back. I'm a 14 boy now, so yeah, that's going on. But
Betrayal.
I don't know. These updates look cool for WoW. You're getting some more new like balance changes and whatnot for Shadowlands. WoW Classic is getting Burning Crusade, which is a big deal because that expansion was apparently super good. It was before my time.
I love how they're gonna update WoW Classic to the point where it isn't WoW Classic, and they're gonna come out with a WoW Classic Classic.
Well, because the thing is, why I actually do know this, is that they're giving you a choice to whether or not you want to bring your character to the expansion or not, so you can keep it in classic WoW.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I like that they're
agree
giving
with
people the
that.
option,
Yeah, that's nice.
because I think WoW Classic is definitely just something that's gonna live and die by it being very faithful to the
Yeah.
intent of the experience of the original, not the experience of the original, but the intent of it. And they actually talk about that in the deep dive a little bit. They talked about how the goal of WoW Classic isn't to be exactly what WoW Classic originally was. The goal is to essentially reinvigorate the feelings that the players would have had in that content by making things follow like a similar patch schedule and removing a lot of the conveniences, but not a lot of the technical advancements. So it's stuff like now there's support for some more cool graphical effects in Burning Crusade, because like, why would they go back to the old graphics engine? Like, stuff like that, where it doesn't make sense for them to just get rid of modern technology. But they are still keeping their classic stuff. All right. We got some Hearthstone updates.
Who cares?
Moving on.
Yep, moving on. If you
And
play
to be clear,
Hearthstone...
I really like Hearthstone. I just stopped playing a while ago. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a game that throws away your progress very frequently. So
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of card games are like that, but Hearthstone in particular is very quick moving with what its core sets are, and super hard to play as a free player. So, all right, we got a Blizzard Arcade collection. This is pretty neat. It's dropping.
Yeah.
I think it dropped today, actually. I believe it just released when they did the announcement. So it's a collection of Blackthorn, Lost Vikings, and Rock and Roll Racing.
Blackthorn
Roll-
is a cool game.
Rock and Roll Racing is one of the most fun, like, old school racers there is. Like, weird top-down isometric, like, battle racer. I don't know. These are all very fun games that haven't really been able to be played on a lot. So it's cool that we're getting this collection.
Blackthorn, I'm just gonna say Blackthorn is a really cool game.
Yeah, I want to play it because I
It's-
never got the chance
It's
to.
so it is so 80s. It is like 80s just all mashed into one game. It's kind of incredible.
Yep.
I love it so much.
All right. So Diablo 4.
Hmm.
Diablo 4 is a game that I actually have a lot of interest in, but really don't care to talk about very much yet because we still don't know much. The one big update to add to both Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 is that neither is coming in 2021. They are both 2022 or beyond projects. So we have a lot of information about both. A lot of it's probably subject to change that we won't talk about. Like Diablo 4 is getting some interesting PvP stuff. The note of interest here is that the rogue class was confirmed for Diablo 4, which I believe was not in 3. It's been a little while since I played 3, but I don't recall there being a rogue. I think the closest was the Demon Hunter, and they look fun. So Diablo 4 is shaping up to be pretty cool. I don't know. I'm still not convinced it's going to overtake, like especially Path of Exile now is still a juggernaut, with Path of Exile 2 coming out in the immediate horizon. I'm a little skeptical that Diablo 4 is going to fill the need that it's trying to, but I hope it does, because I like Diablo. So, any other notes on Diablo 4 that people want to add?
Nope, I don't play Diablo, so
Ears were also confirmed. That's a pretty important thing to just leave out like that.
That was
sorry.
gross.
I'm sorry.
That was really gross.
All right.
That made me throw up a little bit. Not even gonna lie, that was really gross.
Okay. So we're gonna move on to Overwatch, because Overwatch had some cool stuff.
2 or 1?
2.
Yes.
2.
Okay.
So I was not interested.
Before we start talking about Overwatch 2.
Okay.
What are you gonna talk about Overwatch 2?
No. You know what? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I'm gonna say
Go ahead.
the one kind of confirmation we've gotten is that Overwatch 1 is basically done at this point.
Yes.
It is. They're still going to be updating like balance and general esports related fixings, essentially, and maintaining the game until 2 launches. But this is basically confirmation that like the team is fully working on Overwatch 2. Overwatch 1 is not going to be getting like new events or anything between now and 2. Most likely, they haven't like explicitly said that, but Overwatch 1 has not gotten updates in a long time. And I don't see why that would start now, especially with all the detail on Overwatch 2. All right, Wyatt, continue.
I was not looking forward to Overwatch 2. I just kind of memed on it because it felt like a really flimsy excuse to like make a second game, especially if the first game was going to be supported with so much of the content from 2.
Because they introduced it as a flimsy excuse. Like that, their presentation was essentially, this is Overwatch, but again.
Yeah, but this presentation really changed my mind, and now I'm actually really excited.
And what I don't get,
I guess they did their job.
For some reason, they took Overwatch 2 out of the keynote and didn't show anything in the keynote about it. So, like the big main presentation didn't show anything Overwatch 2 related. It was all in the like deep dive. And so a general outline of what's getting added, and then we'll kind of hit these piece by piece. Because I think most of us have had experience playing Overwatch to a degree, or at least first-person shooters, and some of this stuff is really cool. Most of this is about the PvE side of things. So we don't really have any PvP updates, but PvE side of things, they're aiming to have like hundreds of different missions essentially that can be randomly generated, which sounds cool in theory. I want them to not make it suck.
Yeah.
Which is always hard with like random gen horde mode missions. They might just not be good. But I have some major confidence in the Overwatch team because like Overwatch 1 is still a super solidly designed game. So yeah, we're getting a lot of, we got some looks at new mini bosses, updates to PvE stuff, including some new skill trees.
That was the most interesting. It kind of reminded me of Paladins, actually, which is.
I honestly think like when I see the skill tree screen, the closest comparison I think of is Borderlands. because it's like the 3 trees
Yeah.
next to each other, and they're about the size of Borderlands skill trees. But
Yeah, I think in terms of like how they look and how they function, they seem kind of similar to Borderlands. But I remember when it was like Overwatch and Paladins first came out, and it was like people trying to spot the difference between the two. And Paladins always had that unique aspect of like being able to customize your hero to have them have a slightly different build going into a game.
And important to note here, these are PvE only skill trees. These are not PvP.
Yes.
So
yes. That
means they can get kind of crazy with what they do.
Oh yeah, I
mean, is a lot more
fun. Some of the examples, like they were talking about, like
the snowplow build.
The snowplow build. Like Junkrat can like dual wield grenade launchers. Just insane, cool stuff.
Yeah, for reference, the snowplow build is a Soldier 76 has a modifier to his healing stim, where he places it around himself and it pushes enemies away, so you can just like run into a group of enemies and push them everywhere. Just fun stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what this PvE stuff is like. I'm always a fan of PvE shooters, especially in PvP games that are like you can kind of take some progress back and forth of like probably skins and whatnot.
And I always felt like whenever they did have the occasional PvE content in Overwatch, I always had a lot of fun with it. I actually really enjoyed it, so I'm glad that they're really focusing on it more, because I always felt like it had a lot of potential, and it just seems like with the skill trees, the kind of randomized content, what they're doing with the story, I think they're really. It's not like a. It's not like an afterthought. It really feels like they're putting in the effort, which is good to see.
Yep. So the one thing I want to bring up is kind of a concern is that they've talked a lot about how you're fighting Null Sector, which is just a bunch of robots. That's my biggest concern.
Not the most interesting. I will say that they spent a lot of time talking about the different enemy types that they're adding.
Yeah,
and
which
they
are
all
cool.
seem really interesting, cool, and I loved the designs for all of them. But robots, are not the most interesting thing to fight.
Like, robots can be super cool, but I think that the thing that's more than robots is just right now it seems like it's one enemy faction.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit concerning just from like a longevity standpoint. Of even like horde mode shooters will aim for like 2 to 3 factions of some kind, because that keeps you can at least rotate to a different faction when you want to have some variation in what you're doing. Especially because a lot of these missions are going to take place on the multiplayer maps, just in a PvE mode. So you're going to be seeing a lot of the same maps, a lot of the same stuff. And I think fighting a bunch of Null Sector robots that don't like have personality is going to get old probably a lot quicker than they're giving it credit for right now. So I'm really hoping they come up with some solutions to that.
Now, my question is, because I'm not caught up on Overwatch lore. Aren't Overwatch, aren't they fighting Talon? Isn't that like their rival? Like,
there's a bunch of stuff. Talon
something?
is the rival group that's like in the game and playable as characters. So like Reaper is a Talon character.
Because I don't think they've talked about Talon at all in terms of like the story mode.
We don't know much about the story mode to begin with. Like, they really haven't told us much. Yeah. I think people are generally going off of like visual cues of the maps and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I'm hoping
that's my biggest thing is like I'm not someone who keeps up with like the comics and the continuing story. So will it make no sense to people like me who just haven't experienced that before? That's one question that I have. But
yeah, I'm hoping they address that. I want there to be some interesting reason to keep playing. So, and Blizzard is good at that because, like, especially old WoW expansions were the best in the biz for keeping people around year after year. So, if they can capture a bit of that magic in Overwatch, I'd be excited. But at the same time, like, WoW has had some issues with that recently. They don't have a lot of ongoing content games right now. I don't think they have any aside from WoW and Hearthstone, but Hearthstone is just like clinging to that dedicated fan base as hard as possible and really not trying to let anyone new in. So
yeah,
I'm hoping they've got a plan for Overwatch.
I did also like just some of the smaller things. They were really just talking about just improving like overall feedback. So they're talking about like tweaking animations and like punching up like weapon sound effects and that kind of thing, and just kind of hearing the examples they were giving and stuff. It sounded a lot more like punchy, which I like, because I always felt like some of the sound design for some of the weapons felt a little like weak. And so it was nice to see that they're adding a bit more like oomph to the sound design as well.
Yeah, and they're adding a lot of really cool systems for the PvE enemies, where they'll react to like if you shoot one, it'll kind of get trampled into others if you hit it with a strong enough projectile, and there'll be like a crowd reaction going on. Some cool like enemy AI stuff, but a lot of that is like very deep divey, so probably not the average person is going to be that interested in that, but definitely cool looking things for their new PvE stuff.
Another interesting point they were talking about, depending on which heroes you bring to a like a story mission, the dialogue will change, which is a really nice touch. And I don't think my brain wants to get really excited and think that they're talking about like possibly some kind of branching story. I don't think that's what they were talking about, but like I don't know. I was daydreaming that aspect a little bit, and it's still pretty exciting though.
All right. Yep. So I think that'll wrap up Overwatch 2 for now. We'll definitely talk more about it as it gets closer to release, but again, 2022 at the earliest. So, but Blizzard did announce they have something coming out this year, something that a lot of people have been looking forward to, and that is Diablo 2 Resurrected. So I don't know who here.
Diablo Immortal.
No, absolutely not.
That's why I was laughing.
So I don't think anyone here has played Diablo 2.
No.
All right. So Diablo 2 is kind of the grandpappy of ARPGs in that it established most of the conventions that pretty much every ARPG is still keeping. So seeing Diablo 2 Resurrected and looking good is really refreshing, because like Diablo 2 is still actively played by tons of people. Like this game is super old.
That's crazy.
Like it had so much longevity that it is still going around. And it looks like there are a lot of reasons to be excited right now. So Vicarious Visions, of course, the developers behind the awesome Crash and Tony Hawk's remakes, are handling most of this, and those guys have a very, very good track record, and I would be very surprised if they allowed themselves to be attached to a project that's not doing great. So I'm hoping that this comes out at least as a good remake of Diablo 2. They've also talked a lot about trying to retain a lot of the original design decisions and whatnot, and just like modernizing things so that they are more fun and more unique consistently. So it's stuff like they're all staying very similar to the original art style, but now, because Diablo 2 came out before things like unique weapons and items having different appearances on your character was really a thing. Unique weapons and items will now have different appearances on your characters. So it's like wild to think that wasn't in the game to begin with, but it was old enough that that's not really something that was done much at the time. So now it's getting like all the quality of life stuff from Diablo 3 added in, with none of the like design decisions that made Diablo 3 aimed at a different audience. Yeah, it looks like it'll kind of coexist peacefully with Diablo 4, which is a little weird. Both of these games are like coming out around the same time. But yeah, it's definitely a good jumping in point for anyone that wants to see like what the hype about Diablo 2 originally was. This will be a great way to re-experience that. Or not re-experience, to experience that for the first time in a game that is a lot more modern. But yeah.
Now, as good as it looks currently, and the fact that it is Vicarious Visions that's working on it, I think there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to be burned twice in a row from a Blizzard remake. Now, again, it's a different team, and I understand that, but it was watching that part of the presentation. It was really difficult for me, at least, to like not think about Warcraft 3 while
Yeah.
they were presenting it.
I mean, the nice. Go ahead, Brett.
I was just gonna say, I know not everyone knows a guy, but in this case, I do know a few people that have said that they are going to like the end of the earth so that does not happen, Wyatt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got a lot of faith in Vicarious about this.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a difference too. I don't think it's going to be the same situation, but I think it's going to be difficult for people to not think about it, like have it in the back of their mind. You know what I'm saying?
There are people that I know that will literally hurt themselves if they let it become like that. So they are like making sure that they do a good job.
But I'm just saying from a consumer perspective.
No,
yeah,
I
totally.
honestly think if Diablo 2 Resurrected ends up coming out awful in the state that Warcraft 3 Reforged was and still kind of is, that would kill Blizzard's reputation. I think that is like the last straw that Blizzard can afford right now.
At least for people that are already like big, like people who have been like long time Blizzard like fans, like that would be probably
because like Warcraft 3 was a big game. Diablo 2 is like the father of a genre.
Yeah.
If they mess this up, man, there's going to be some heavy fallout.
It's the end. That's over. It's it.
Yeah, I legitimately
Chaos
think
really would win.
If Diablo,
nothing could bring them back from that.
If this comes back bad, Diablo 4, first of all, is going to sell like trash because it'll kill their reputation, and that will probably kill Blizzard ever having any chance of making another ARPG and having it succeed.
They really need a win right now.
And I think this will be a win. Like, there's already signs that this is a lot better because guess what? Guess what a feature this is going to have that's really interesting. It's coming out on every major platform, and I do mean every single one of them. PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X. It also will have cross-progression.
Yeah.
Yeah. My God, we're finally in 2021. Games are doing the thing that they should all be doing.
This is the next gen.
We've made it. Incredible.
It is remakes of old games with cross-progression.
Or just games with cross-progression in general. Like, there are games that are new that come out that are multiplayer and don't have it.
Or crossplay.
I mean, most of them come out and don't have it. So yeah, that's already a good
Call of Duty
sign.
As like the go-to for crossplay, which just makes me feel disgusting. But you know, here we are.
And yeah, another reassuring thing about this is that the game is going into a tech alpha now, so it is already playable by human people with hands. So. That is refreshing to see as well, because sometimes that's too much to ask for, like in the case of Warcraft 3. So, yeah,
there's a lot less.
Very hopeful about this.
There's a lot less hiding from the public going on here, which immediately instills a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and they're also like, there's a few things as well that are a little bit more cost heavy in that they are saying they're going to remake all the cutscenes in the game. However, there's only like 20-something minutes of cutscenes, 30 minutes of cutscenes in this game.
I see like YouTube videos recommended for me, like, oh yeah, this like the Legend of Dragoon movie or whatever, where it's like every like hours and hours of cutscenes, and then it's like, we've remade all 17 minutes and 58 seconds of cutscenes, and it's like you don't have to like it. You could just say it. You don't have to make it like a big issue.
So yeah, I am glad that we're gonna be getting like 30 minutes of new cutscene. Not new cutscene, but redone cutscenes? Question mark? That'll be the signifier if this game's bad or not, I think, because with Warcraft 3 Reforged, that was the thing they promised that they didn't do. They said they were remaking the cutscenes and whatnot, and then that did not happen.
Yeah. It just blatantly just did not happen. Like, it's not even like a disputable point. It did not happen.
Yeah. Like, there were no new cutscenes. So if this comes out and the cutscenes are new, well, they've already got quite a leg up. So, yeah. That's most of the Diablo 2 talk. The only thing I would be a little concerned about is mod support. I think Blizzard has kind of moved away from mod support recently, which is a shame. because Diablo 2's mods are some of the most bonkers in existence. Like, Diablo 2 has a huge modding scene. Not quite as big as Warcraft 3 Reforged did, because you could do a little bit more in that engine, but Diablo 2 itself still has like tons of different mods that add like entirely new storylines and whatnot. So I would hope they try to integrate some form of modding support into the game that does not have a license that allows people to own whatever you make with it, and like Blizzard to republish it without credit. Just like the weird stuff that Warcraft 3 Reforged did. That's like super anti-consumer, so hopefully this launches with some form of modding support, or comes out with some form of modding support after launch that isn't like that. Yeah, I would love to see what people could do in the new engine with cool stuff. But even then, like, at least in this case, this game is a lot better of a foundation to build on than Reforged was. So if it doesn't have mod support, the game will still be really good. It just doesn't have mod support. All right, any other BlizzCon stuff we want to talk about? I think we covered most of it.
Metallica, but not.
What?
Metallica played, but the official Twitch game stream, because Twitch just played 8-bit folk music over it instead, so that they didn't DMCA themselves.
Oh my god.
It's really funny to
Oh.
see these guys absolutely shredding, and then just have some nice like just ambient 8-bit folk
More
music
like-
over it.
More like enter copyright strike.
Oh.
Oh.
You know what?
I
I don't know if you can
we
hear
can't
me
hum
clapping.
it. We can't
but
hum it.
Oh,
why?
Yeah.
you really can't even hum it?
Yeah, we can't do anything. We're live. We are beholden to the Twitch copyright strike gods, unfortunately.
Well, I guess I'm banned now. Oh no.
Yeah.
Going Geiger.
You get like 6 seconds or something like that.
Oh,
And
okay,
then you
well,
get
that was
insta-banned.
That was like a millisecond, so we're fine.
Yeah, we're
I know
good.
it sounded just like Enter Sandman, so I understand that it would get taken down
Of
immediately.
course. It was too beautiful for this world. All right.
I know.
It may have been really, really great. Look, it may have been a really, really great cover, but we would have gotten copyright strike, so nothing else matters.
Chaos. Chaos.
All right. So we talked about our major conference announcements. There's one like non-conference related announcement that happened. No Man's Sky is getting another update, and you can have pets this time. Pretty cool. We've talked
Yeah,
about No Man's
I
Sky
mean,
before. Go
Great
play
game. Totally worth playing now. With every update, it just gets better.
Honestly, with all the stuff that they had added, I thought pets were already a thing in it.
You can. It was like you could have mounts, or like you could ride certain alien creatures, but now it's like you can keep them as pets.
Which is not the same as having a pet. My mini
Or-
schnauzer can attest to that.
They
Yep.
they even had an update where like you could fly around ships that were just basically living creatures. It was
Ooh.
a weird update. But
Yeah, there's now like
Sure.
pets you can equip with things, and they will like help you mine rocks. So you can make your rock mining journey easier. All right. That's our announcements. That's pretty much it for actual game related announcements this week. It was aside from the major conferences, a pretty slow week, which I guess means it wasn't a slow week. So Wyatt and I have been talking a lot, so I want to hear from Alex and Brett. What have you guys been playing this week?
I don't play video games anymore. I stopped.
which is why he's the perfect candidate to have on the podcast.
Unless you want to go first, Alex, I can go.
I have like a small smattering of things, I guess.
A small smattering.
Though
Why
I-
don't you smatter us
A
with those things,
splash.
Alex?
A
Oh
smatter,
God! I'll
a spread.
now that you put it like that.
Look,
Really
all,
riding the line
all
here.
I'm talking about is goo. I mean,
Exclamation point.
You want to be
Oh,
smattered
Lord.
with goo, Ryan?
look,
Exclamation
if
point.
goo
Point.
exclamation point.
You're
If
sh-
it was still around, I would want to be smattered with
To
goo's
be clear,
products.
we are talking about a video game company.
Yes,
That
that's
is-
why
that
it's
is
goo
exactly what-
exclamation point.
That is exactly what we are. I'm just being 100% clear.
You could say you were being explicit.
Oh, oh.
No.
All right, Alex, stop us now.
Okay. So what little free time I have had this week that hasn't been taken up by work or health stuff. I've played. Um, I've been consciously staying away from Destiny 2 because I just
Good
Why would you
need a
do
man.
break
that?
from that.
Good for you. I'm
Mm.
I'm so proud of you.
That being said, I've been playing a smattering of some Warframe, getting back into that a little bit.
Joining the brigade.
Noida, I believe it's pronounced.
Ooh.
A very
Yes.
nice pixel sim game where you play as a wizard and there's a bunch of wands you can collect with cool spells that you can mix and match, and it's just it's kooky, crazy pixel fun. Um, and then I quote unquote bought. It was free, so I got Hell Talker, and I haven't tried that out yet.
Oh, Helltaker.
Helltaker?
Held let me see.
I believe it's
Yeah,
Helltaker. It's
no, yeah,
the
it's
game that
Helltaker.
took the world by storm for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played that yet. I've been meaning to, but
It's a cute little puzzle game.
Oh,
Yep.
it's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
some neat art.
I
Yeah,
just saw
I
some
love
of the
the
art,
art
and
style.
it seemed vaguely Skullgirls-ish, which I like that style, but
definitely.
I know literally nothing about it. So
Yeah, I just keep seeing art of Helltaker pop up on like Twitter and whatnot, and get vaguely reminded that maybe I should try it out at some point, but hasn't happened yet. I don't know. I also like you're playing Noida. Noida's a great game. Very, very cool rogue-like procedural explosion simulator.
it is really quick to play too. Like 5 minutes usually is how long I last.
Yeah, I
in
definitely
that.
recommend if you haven't tried turning on the setting that allows for starting classes.
Classes.
Yeah, so the game actually has like a
Or is
bunch
that
of
one of the
built-in.
mods?
No, it's built into the game. You can get mods that add more, but the game has some starting classes that you can make it randomly choose your loadout based on one of them.
Ooh.
So it'll give you a little bit more varied runs because you'll start with like there's one that's like an Eldritch Mage where your spam attack is a like a giant tentacle that gets summoned out of the ether and smacks your enemies.
I just want to be completely kitted out with magic missile, and that's
Yep.
all I use.
And then there's like a fire mage that runs around and can shoot fireballs. Lots of cool stuff in that game. Definitely a really cool like indie
Ooh.
project. And I think everyone here already knows Brett and I's opinion on Warframe, so
Yeah.
fun game.
So good.
Time consuming but fun.
Very time consuming.
Like I just got my
worth
Stalta,
it.
so
I still don't have enough materials to get those wings for the Valentine's Day event.
well,
So
you got time though. You got like a few
Do I?
weeks. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I only had 12 days at first when it.
Warframe's got
No, never mind.
some long events. They don't tend to shorten events. Yeah, so Brett, what's been up in your world?
Does anyone here know what dot hack is?
Oh my god.
Not a clue.
Um,
Enlighten me.
Brett, you
So-
just said my Russian trigger phrase.
Oh, no.
Ryan has become a sleeper agent. Entropy really has taken
You
hold.
talking to me about dot hack GU last recode?
No, we're going all the way back. The first one, dot hack infection,
Ooh.
I have for the PS2.
That
Because
doesn't
I-
sound healthy.
The well, yes, I'm in hospital right now, but I should. It's only like a 20-hour game, so I should be out soon.
Is
Um,
it?
But I from what I understand, GU and therefore GU last recode takes place after the
I believe so.
the quadrology, the tetralogy, the four.
Yeah, GU last recode is just the one that's like available to play on modern things right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what the gameplay of GU is, but I'm playing the first round now, and I'm just like, how did this one not also get any sort of like remaster report? Because it's completely single player. It's kind of like eh, it's ARPG-ish, but it's kind of like a little bit like Final Fantasy 12 in that it's like a single player MMO basically, which is exactly what it is. And to the point where the game takes place inside of like Like you start the game up and you are in like the most early 2000s browser you have ever seen.
Yep.
And you go on your desktop screen and you check your email and you get emails from the other characters that are your friends. And then you go to start up the definitely real MMO called The World, and it
GU
brings
is
you to the home
exactly the
screen.
same.
It's like it's
Oh, that's
kind of
trippy.
adorable and also really cool at the same time how well they captured what an MMO like still kind of is. As someone like me who doesn't really play them but has watched a lot of like friends play them, it seems like one to one. And this is, I think the original one came out like
Early 2000s.
yeah, super early 2000s, and like by that point, at least for Japan, there was like Final Fantasy 11 and
Phantasy Star.
those two, and
Yep.
those were your MMOs. And so the fact that they replicated it like perfectly is insane. And it was like because they have the hub town, the hub server. And I'm just like walking around buying items and stuff, and they have other AI characters running around as if they're like players. And so I'm just sitting here, and like 10 of them are stacking up, like clipping through each other as if they're buying items. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's just what people do.
Yep.
Oh wait, these are not real people. Like I actually had a moment where I had to like snap back to reality and be like, these people aren't real. These are computers that are just exactly emulating what players do in these
Oh,
kinds of
jeez.
games.
It's
It's kind of
wild.
terrifying,
Yeah, GU does the
and
same stuff.
it's like playing with like real life events and like people dying in the game and dying in real life and going into comas and stuff. It's kind of amazing. It's like a one disc ARG. It's I cannot wait to finish it and get to the other ones because man,
Yeah, I
so
kind of
unique.
from playing GU, I haven't finished it. I've been meaning to go back and play it at some point, but they do retain a bit of the MMO grind in GU, which is a little bit unfortunate. Because if you're making a single player conversion of an MMO, you probably want to cut most of that out. I think
Yeah.
Infection, from what you're saying, kind of does. Correct me
Um
if I'm wrong.
it's here's the thing. I thought it cut it out, and then I met a new character, and like you literally, it feels like you're going through like the Xbox menus and inviting someone to your party to get someone
Yep.
into your party every time. And then I did, and then I was like level 7, and this new person was level 1, and I was like, oh, okay. So I got to do the video game. I
The
guess
video
I
game
get it.
thing.
But the like upside of that I don't know how embedded into the gameplay this is for GU, but for Infection, um when you meet a new character, the more you do stuff with them, like they send you
Yep.
emails.
GU is the same.
So it kind of feels worth it to get a little extra character interaction that you might not get if you didn't grind up the character to the level that you were at. So I like that kind of stuff where it gets me some extra little story things, and it really like it is on that point kind of something that pushes it further. While I'm on that is the in-universe reason of why you can hear these people talking to you, because it is fully voice acted, is
Oh.
that the world is so advanced that it can take the text that people put in, and it puts it into perfect human speech, and it doesn't sound robotic at all. But the little dialogue boxes still come over people's heads, and there's this one character that is just super annoying, and every single sentence is ended by like XD
Oh
or
Oh
god.
no.
:0, and it's just like, wow, you really nailed it, and I hate you. It is hilarious. So if I get more interactions like that, I'll grind a little bit. I don't care. It's not like it's super hard anyway. I don't know how hard GU is, but
GU is a little bit
Infection's
more
not
of
that
like
hard.
a true form JRPG. I think that
Mm,
the games are a little bit longer, and the last Recode collection is 3 games in one.
yeah.
And they're all decently lengthy. They're not Persona length games. They're not like 100 hours each, but they're close to like I think 40, 50-ish.
Oh
Oh yeah,
wow.
that's
So
much
with all
longer
3 of
than.
them, it's pretty lengthy. And man, GU's protagonist is like one of the most try hard edge boys. just from like
I mean, I've seen-
appearance. Like,
I've seen the way he looks. Yeah.
man, he looks like an SAO villain. Like, it's a interesting game. I did enjoy it, but I bounced off of it because I think I started playing Persona 5 around the same time, and like
Yeah, that'll suck you in.
you then compare the two and are like, huh, yeah, I would rather just get to the end of Persona faster than play both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been meaning to play them. From my knowledge, there's not a lot of direct carryover from Infection Quadrology to GU, aside from like world scenario stuff. The games themselves are pretty separate. So
From what I've seen from what is either the original box art or the box art for Last Recode is that the main character from the original 4 is a villain in GU.
I think he's like, if it's the person I'm thinking of, I think he's more like what you would equate how a lot of JRPGs will have that weird character that like is sometimes a villain and sometimes just shows up and does weird things. I think it's more of that like callback scenario than that.
Because I'm sure it's like the data in the world is replicating him because he did the important thing last time. Like that's just a trope that feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it feels like. Maybe again, I'm just going off of box
yeah, and of
art.
course I haven't
Why
played
thought they would
Infection,
be-
so I'm not 100%
Yeah.
certain. But yeah, I do believe there's also an anime of Infection story.
They're
I
not
don't.
of Infection.
Oh,
Although
is it like its
Infection
own
does
thing?
come with an anime disc. It's dude, I looked at the continuity and it's like they got just straight novels in there, and I'm miss me with that. But there's an anime that takes place before, and there's an anime that takes place in between the quadrology and GU, and then there's an anime that takes place after, and then there's like 4 books in between. I think
Oh
there's a book that
God,
started the whole thing. Yeah, so it's like
that's
it is a franchise and a half.
Have you read the Halo novels?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, they're good. They're good, I
There's
swear.
so many of them.
I haven't read all of them. I've read like
The good
3.
ones.
Yeah. The old ones, basically, is what that means.
Yeah,
20 to 37 or so.
I think there's more than that at this point.
There's so many.
Yeah, so I think my like big thing with Dot Hack is it's just such a weird game to play
It is.
for a while, which is super unique. And I played a decent chunk of GU. I can look at my hour count. Yeah, so I played like 10 hours of that game and eventually stopped. I'm gonna have to replay the entire thing to understand what was going on. But yeah, they're really interesting. And if you want to play a Dot Hack game, the GU Remaster Collection is like generally pretty cheap. I don't even think it launched at full price. It launched at like $30 or something. So it is generally easy to acquire. I don't know. You can update us on if Infection Quadrology is worth playing through, Brett, when you
Yeah, when I
get more
finish
into it.
all 4.
All 4 of the quadrology.
I know the 4th one is like $200 to get, and you can only get
What?
it for the peak. Well, because that's PS2 had like a weird trend where like certain games that are like cult classic franchises, which is literally just Xenosaga and Dot Hack, have like different installment games. Like Xenosaga has 3 and Dot Hack had 4, and the last one for each of them is like multiple hundreds of dollars now.
Why?
Because I think they just produced
Uh,
way less. Most
They
likely.
did, yeah. So
Also, man,
hard to
I
get.
forgot Dot Hack was made by CyberConnect too. That
Yeah,
is.
and
Yep.
you know who did the character design for Dot Hack? Very
Who?
strangely small world. The same guy who did the character design for Evangelion.
Oh my god, I see that
Oh.
though. Yeah, I see that.
It's the eyes.
I think I found Brett's linchpin.
Huh. It's making me want to go play Dot Hack more. All right. So Wyatt, I know you're just seething in that corner, just seething to talk about.
You know what I'm going to talk about. You're seeing
I
just
know.
as much as I am. To be
So I am going to put
let's be
limits.
clear
We're
here.
already running pretty deep into the time, so I'm going to say, we're going to retain the deep dive critique until after we're further in the game,
Mm.
because we don't really have time to go into too much detail.
Mhm.
But kick us off, Wyatt.
What game? Might
So
this be?
Ryan and I have been playing Age of Calamity pretty much since it came out.
Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. Gotta say the full
To be
title.
clear,
All right,
I tend to shorten it just to Age of Calamity because it is a bit of a mouthful. But it is I already forgot the name of it again, but it is a Warriors-esque
It's a Warriors game.
Warriors game.
It's in the title.
It's it's what's the overall genre name?
Dynasty
Muso.
Warriors.
My brain
The
forgot it.
genre that
Reliable.
most Koei Tecmo games are of this type are put in is the Muso genre of like
Muso
the
genre.
Warriors.
Thank you.
It's Warriors Japanese title.
My memory is about as reliable as Mike Still Claus's, so you'll have to just bear with me here. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. But no, we've been playing that, and it is really rad.
That's a good way to describe it.
And I think what stands out to me, because I'm not a huge fan of like other Warriors games. I've played the original Hyrule Warriors, and I thought it was cute because it's basically just a Muso game with some like Zelda fan fiction in it, and it's like it's cute, right? But this is I feel like their ambitions are set a lot higher here because they're really trying to meld Breath of the Wild specifically with this genre, and I think they do a beautiful job of like taking the strengths from both games and really just like putting it in this. It's like cooking in Breath of the Wild. You take two things and you make something wonderful out of it, and they do it really, really well. And it's really great. It's not just window dressing in terms of like adapting stuff from Breath of the Wild into this genre. They like legitimately take it and make meaningful mechanics out of it, and they do such a good job of that.
Yeah, the thing that always stuns me, they've retained most of the control scheme as well,
That's the
which is
crazy
startling.
part.
Like
Yeah,
if you've
there are
played Breath of the
moments-
Wild, you can play Age of Calamity, no
there
problem.
are moments where it feels like you're just playing Breath of the Wild again because
All your attacks
they
have 10-foot
also-
range.
yeah, and because it's like the art style it's like perfectly replicated. The UI they got down perfectly. All of the sound design, the music, the little like musical flourishes here and there when you pick up items and stuff like that. It's just the look and feel is so well replicated. I would say the only two things that really give it away is movement, and Muso games are very weird.
Floaty. It's
and
very floaty.
And it doesn't work in really tight and closed spaces, which I still think is an issue here, where sometimes if you have a fight that's like in a really compact arena, it just
The camera is also not built for that.
becomes
either.
a mess. Yeah. But no, just everything that they took from Breath of the Wild, they adapted into it. So even if you're just it's not an open world anymore, but you're fighting in these larger sort of battlefields, and they still retain like, oh, if the grass catches on fire, you can use it. You can use like the updraft to like get a gust of wind in your paraglider and fly around. You can still cut the trees to like gather wood for crafting things later. And it's like there's just it's shocking how much they were able to retain.
And a number of the maps are basically just lifted straight from Breath of the Wild, like just cut into single maps and not open world.
It's a great like, oh, I remember this area.
It's like it even has like when you're in the Gerudo map, it even has a little oasis that you first visit on your way to like try and get into the city. That's one of the maps. Is like just right around, and you can run from that oasis to the city, and it's like it's a little bit condensed, obviously, to fit a Warriors map, but man, it is nailing the sense of being in Hyrule. So
yeah, it's crazy. I think it's a much better melding of two different franchises than I've personally seen from this from these like Nintendo Koei Tecmo crossovers. It's definitely done the best job of kind of like combining the strengths of both series together.
It's also got a lot of mechanical advantages over the last Hyrule Warriors. Like I liked the last Hyrule Warriors, but the combat was still pretty much like you have 3 buttons. You got your light attack, your heavy attack, and your big special.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here you've got like light attack, heavy attack, special, character special. You've got your 4 different runes that change depending on what character you're playing that you can use at any point in time. So
You also have a like a inventory thing where you can either heal or use the different like
Oh yeah,
magic
the rods as well.
rods or whatever. Yeah.
You just have a
And
lot
they
more
even incorporate
decisions moment to
yeah,
moment.
they even incorporate like the small things. So it's not an open world, but basically you can scroll around the open world map from Breath of the Wild to
And it is exactly the same.
one-to-one
Ooh.
recreation of the map. It's great. And they use a lot of the same icons. Like you can have all the different icons from Breath of the Wild where you can mark things. They use almost all of them here, which is great. But there's even little things, even if you're not fighting, there's a ton to do. So there will be little spots around the map where if you give a certain amount of resources, you can gain an extra heart container for your for a specific character, or give them new combos and stuff like that, which is great. They even were able to carry over cooking, where you basically buy different recipes from around like the world map, and then you can feed it to your to whatever warriors you select for the upcoming battle. That'll give you like some sort of bonus, whether that's like extra experience or extra like damage, defense, extra rupees out of that match and stuff like that. It's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah. And I think one thing for me is that like it's not even getting stale a little bit. Where like normally I've played a decent chunk of this game at this point. Normally like 5 hours into a Warriors game, it'll start to get a little repetitive. Like it won't be boring by any means. Like I played tons of Dynasty Warriors before this, so I'm the kind of person that can put up with repetitive gameplay if it's fun. But like here, it's just not getting repetitive because you have so many choices in moment to moment combat.
And they do
yeah.
a good job of like of keeping up variety of missions too.
And
So whether it's like
characters.
yeah, and whether it's the main missions where you're usually running around from point to point doing certain things, even like there's just little one-off missions that usually last no more than like 15 minutes or even 10 minutes or something. Or they're like quick little battles where they have a ton of different conditions. So it's like, oh, there's one where you can only use spears, you can only use this certain type of you can only use this hero, or there's crazy ones where it's a time limit, but you also can't get hit once.
Yep, and they
Like
escalate in
really
difficulty.
insane ones. Yeah, it gets crazy. So there's a lot of variety there as well.
You've
Which
got
is
your
great.
classic optional character unlocks that I've run into. You get
Mhm.
like side characters that are new or like weird. Have some optional things so that you can unlock them. There's less characters than Hyrule Warriors before. I have a feeling it will stay that way. I don't think I've unlocked all the characters by any means, but
I'm fine with that though, because
yeah,
I
because
think
they're super fun. Like
yeah, and I think
all of
and
them.
more so, and I don't have a lot of experience with Dynasty Warriors, but I have played Hyrule Warriors and I've played Fire Emblem Warriors, and it definitely feels like here the warriors feel a lot more distinct from one another. Like
Absolutely.
they all have really great like interesting combos. They all have their own feel to them, which is great. And they just get really wacky.
Yeah.
They get really out there. So you can play as Zelda, who's basically just using the Sheikah Slate and all of the different like runes from the Sheikah Slate to like combine different attacks together. And I got to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it, but
Whereas I
it's
love it. It's super
no,
fun.
yeah, and that's a personal, and that's just like a personal taste thing. But it's really cool just to like just
That it
experiment with how you
exists.
can, yeah, that you can rack up. They even have Hetsu, what's his name? The
S2.
little Hestu, excuse me. Who's the guy that you give Korok seeds to in Breath of the Wild. He's fully voiced and you can fight with his maracas and he sounds horrible, but it's hilarious.
And his fighting style is weird. I hate it, but I don't know, maybe I just don't get it yet.
One of his special attacks is he literally like if you just keep mashing ZR, he calls in a bunch of Koroks to come help you out. Like it's insane. Or they have Impa, who you can basically cast different what are they called, symbols or something on enemies, and if you go and collect it properly, you can basically duplicate yourself like 8 or 9 times. So there's basically 8 or 9 Impas attacking at the same time.
Yeah, it's
It's
super fun.
insanity. It's awesome.
Yeah, every character, like the big thing here that it has over Dynasty Warriors, and like maybe Hyrule Warriors did this to a smaller extent. The original Hyrule Warriors, where characters kind of had their own mechanics, and like Dynasty Warriors used to do this too, but it was always very simple. Here, like the mechanics are their own button. Like you have a separate button that is trigger whatever your character does that's wacky,
And they do a great job
Yeah.
of like allowing you to combo all of these things together, right? So
Yep.
if you do a certain combination of Y and X for Zelda, she'll roll out a big like bomb, right? And then you have to hit ZR in order to detonate the bomb in the right spot. It's just super cool. And they get really creative with how to combine all these different like individual mechanics together. They do
Yeah.
such a great job at that. And again, they still do a great job of retaining a lot of the open world aspects of Breath of the Wild. So again, you can still you can still grab weapons out of enemies' hands with like magnesis, or you can if you have like certain lightning attacks, you can like electrocute this giant metal box that will like electrocute enemies around it. So they still retain a lot of that really cool like environmental uh integration with combat and stuff like that. They just, it's shocking how well they like work together.
Yeah. And one thing I want to give like special shout out to is Link Sword and Shield combo is his basically the same as Breath of the Wild, except like exaggerated a lot
Yeah.
to hit many more enemies. But he's still got the same like parry timing with the Sword and Shield. But of course, if you equip Link with a different weapon, he gets completely different. So if you give Link a two-handed weapon, he runs around and his special now turns into he can do super amped like attacks that cost health, and then you press
That was the
another
most fun
a
weapon for me,
different
to be
button,
honest.
and Link will gobble down some food in classic Breath of the Wild style and heal himself with the goofy animation and everything.
And this is something I feel like most Breath of the Wild fans really wanted. There are sections where you get to control the divine beasts in their own missions
Ooh.
and just wreck everything. And I gotta be honest, only a couple of them are fun, but it's really cool regardless.
All of them are fun once, but after that, your mileage might vary.
Yeah, but just the
they're
fact
cool,
that
though.
it happens at all is great. And a special shout out too, if you're fighting a guardian, you can deflect their beam back at them exactly the same way.
But only
It's
if you've
it's
got Link's
crazy.
shield as
Yep.
well. It's like little things like that. And of course, if
Yep.
you have Link's sword and shield, one of your special attacks is shield sledding into people. Like
Yep.
it retaining those little elements of Breath of the Wild that made it super fun. Yeah, they just do a really great job.
Yeah, and I think the most surprising part is that it doesn't just like gameplay wise, it doesn't meld. Gameplay wise, it melds really well, but also it is a full on like canon prequel. It is
Yeah.
a legitimate. You can make a legitimate argument that this is a mainline Zelda entry, just of how heavily it ties into the story of Breath of the Wild.
Dude, I care about the
it's
champions
crazy.
way more now because I've
There's
just seen way
that's
more
the
of
thing.
them.
There's more dialogue, cutscenes, and story in general here than in Breath of the Wild.
And I would estimate,
It's-
I highly doubt either of us is even halfway through the game. So
Yeah.
if it's this much already, like, man, I am excited to see what the ending and everything is.
And I don't want to theorize and possibly give away the ending, but I think
I mean, if you've
I don't
played
know.
Breath of the
There's
Wild, you
some-
know what the ending is.
yeah, but so okay, can I talk about the little egg guy for a bit?
Well,
think-
let's avoid the egg guy, just
Okay.
because in case people don't want to like mess up their theories of Breath of the Wild, we'll let them experience that on their own.
Yeah, I think they're going to be doing some really interesting ideas with it being a prequel, like in general.
Yeah,
But-
the one thing I'll say, it does have some weird Koei Tecmo shenanigans in the plot, to kind of make it seem like there's some stakes. Of course,
There's some weird, yeah. To be honest,
we don't know
I
how
like
it turns
there's
out
more
yet
story.
because we haven't finished it.
Yeah.
But
I like that, and I'm not going to give away too much. I like that there's more story. I wouldn't say it's that great, to be honest with you, but I just like that there's more of it. Period. There's just more.
I believe
hanging
the
out with, like-
writing was done in concert with the team that made Breath of the Wild story.
Yeah, that kind of show.
So it is still the same like handling as Breath of the Wild. Like in the cutscenes themselves are very similarly framed and everything.
That was another thing, is that the cutscenes feel like they're just the way that they're shot.
There's a lot of them.
and everything. Yeah, it feels like cutscenes from Breath of the Wild. Just it had a very like a particular camera work, I think, and that translated really well here. They emulated that really well. But it's much more of a prequel, of like a legitimate prequel than I was expecting, which
Yeah.
was a nice.
It definitely feels like it deserves a spot alongside Breath of the Wild as like Breath of the Wild 0, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable when Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, whenever that may be, 3 or 4 years from now. I'm comfortable with calling it a Breath of the Wild trilogy, because that's how much it feels like it's a part of the series.
It's also, it makes me more excited for 2, because we get to see a lot more of Zelda as well, of just like her being a character and not just like this weird voice for 90% of the game.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's excellent. It's been taking over my life, and at this point, I think I'm just gonna let it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna let it happen.
All right. Any last notes from anyone that before we go into shoutouts? No, great. All right, shoutouts.
I would like to start. We usually try and keep shoutouts a little very lighthearted, but it is with a heavy hand and heavy heart that today it was announced that Daft Punk officially split up.
The one day we do the podcast on a Monday and not a Tuesday, Daft Punk breaks up.
And it makes me really sad, because I love Daft Punk. The first time I heard any of their music, it like legitimately changed the way I listen and experience music. And there's a huge part of my life, and sad to see them go.
But a 28-year run,
they had
pretty good,
incredible. Yeah, I mean, I was telling a bunch of people, like, if you've never heard their music before, I would say listen to this, and it just kept going. I just kept listing off songs, because they got nothing but bangers. So that's it. I'm gonna go cry now. Have fun.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Hey, Alex, you got a shout out for me? Got something fun to shout about?
Oh God, no. Revisit me in a second.
All right, great.
I completely blanked.
This is killing me.
All right, I'm gonna shout out to Final Fantasy XIV. I just got back into playing it because Endwalkers is coming up, and I want to be there to see a Final Fantasy XIV expansion at launch, hopefully. Because I've heard some incredible stories about how cool they are. So I want to be there, and man, it is really refreshing to play an MMO that has a good story. Like, oh my God, it's so good. It's like, even it's better than most Final Fantasy games that I've played, and I'm not even to the part that people call good yet. So I'm excited to see where it goes. It's interesting to be playing it from the perspective of someone who's like played Final Fantasy XIV a lot, but not really gotten super far in it. And by a lot, I mean very little by MMO standards. But I'm excited to see where it goes. And I also like that the healing class in 14 also just throws giant rocks at people.
What?
Because Final Fantasy XIV has the philosophy of you should only heal when people are about to die. All the rest of the time, you got to be damaging everyone. So, of course, the White Mage also throws giant rocks at people and can use blood lilies to summon a torrential flower that kills people. So...
All right, Geomancer.
Wow.
There's some wild stuff in that game. All right. Brett or Alex, one of you two, it's up for grabs. Grab the shout out.
Well, you guys are weird. Shout out to my lamp that I just got today.
Oh.
My room was very dark, and you know what? Now it's not, and that's pretty cool.
Nice.
All right.
All right, Alex.
Wow.
Your time's up.
Okay. Hi.
No more running.
Shout out to legitimately fresh eggs.
We've made it.
Yep.
We've done it.
Peak shout outs.
Is that it? Is that any explanation, Alex?
Would you like an explanation?
You know, that's up to you.
No.
All right, I'm hitting the outro button now.
All right.
We're gonna leave you on that note. As always, podcast 7 a.m. Eastern on the podcast platform of your choice. Ooh.
Egg. 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 Beep. 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 Ah. Ah.
Right now.
And that's it. But there.